morning to anybody out there with power listening on their radio. Today is September 27th. It's 11:06 in the morning. My name is Ray Roa here in studio with Ben Montgomery. This is The Skinny today. Mitch Perry is in his home in St. Petersburg. He joins us by Zoom if we have him here. Mitch, can you hear us?
Loud and clear, Ray.
Oh, cool. We can hear you too, Mitch. We had another show planned, but obviously there's been some really serious weather and catastrophic damage.
We're pivoting, Mitch.
So we're going to move all our guests to another day. We're going to open up the phones for everyone, and we're going to get some updates. But real quick, Mitch, if you don't mind, we're just going to check in on this news conference from Mayor Ken Welch, which has started just now. Listen to that and see if we can bring anything, and then we'll leave it if we need to.
Sí. Esto afecta a los residentes ubicados al norte 727.
So right now, in the background, you're listening to a press conference live right now in the city of St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg officials are still urging residents to stay at home if they can, just because of all the damage that they need to assess right now. Mitch, can you talk about what you're experiencing in St. Petersburg and what part of town you're in and how it's going over there?
Yeah, absolutely, Ray. So I'm in northeast St. Petersburg near the Gandhi Bridge, and absolutely the worst flooding that I've seen here in the 5 years I've lived here. The big news, the tragic news out of Pinellas County this morning is that it was just reported about half an hour ago that there were 5 fatalities overnight. Not too much information about that has been given yet. 2 of those people died by drowning, though. We learned from Pinellas County Emergency Manager this morning. Another situation for folks like myself and roughly 70,000 people is that we do not have sewage service, and we will not have it for at least 48 hours. And Ray, I got to say that this, obviously this can happen after a storm, but what's a little bit, I think people are unsettled about here is that the Pinellas County folks, Mayor Ken Welch in St. Petersburg has been having daily news conferences all week. And yet it wasn't until yesterday at 5:30 in the afternoon when they said this might happen. And it did happen about 10:30, 10:45 last night. So nobody here, roughly again, people in St. Petersburg, north of 30th Avenue and east of I-275, are with that we cannot, basically use the toilet for the next couple of days, cannot shower, cannot really use water. So that is that's going to be something that people are going to have to deal with here. But the bottom line is the storm surge. What we're learning here in Pinellas, especially, is like the worst it's ever been.
The city of St. Pete, according to a recent news release, experienced 6 feet of storm surge, 100.6 miles of roads impacted by flooding. All boat ramps in St. Pete are closed. Access to the barrier islands are closed. 24 traffic lights are out. Officers redirecting traffic at those locations. St. Pete Fire and Rescue responded to 3 structure fires last night. And as of this morning, first responders have rescued a total of 70 people. This is just the city of St. Petersburg. A total of 750 individuals stayed at the Gibbs High and John Hopkins middle school shelters. 6 fire rescue boats are out there right now, going to Shore Acres, Snell Isle, and Venetian Isles for search and rescue operations. Folks, we're not out of the weeds yet.
No, and Mayor Ken Welch is back here. We're going to see if he has anything to say here.
Well, there was a mandatory evacuation order. Much of that is covered by Evacuation Zone A. But a lot of it is.
Do you think that might influence people's decisions whether to stay or leave or not? That's what you're backing up with the
I'm not sure where you're going with the question.
Once again, we're tuned into a press conference. City of St. Petersburg Mayor Ken Welch.
Yeah, I do believe right now Mayor Ken Welch is being asked questions about his evacuation orders.
When we call for an evacuation order, you need to respond to that evacuation order. That applies to everybody that lives in Evacuation Zone A. That plant is more than 70 years old, and it's always been at the lowest elevation of our 3 plants. The reason why this project was started in 2022, shortly after I took office, was because we saw that susceptibility. And if you look at the presentation that was made to the public, it talks about resiliency. It talks about elevating the plant. And so that's the reason that $70 million was budgeted. It has always had that vulnerability, and we moved to address that.
So why not say that when it was asked yesterday morning?
So here, Mitch, I'm going to take Ken Welch down here. I think he is talking a little bit about that plant that has been shut down to make sure that the city has sewage. What are you hearing from your neighbors? Were you able to get outside at all last night, Mitch? And what did it look like over there? What evacuation zone are you in? You're obviously at your home right now. I could see on Zoom.
Yeah, I am in evacuation zone A, which is what Mayor Ken Welch was just talking about there, because he was saying that this area where it's not going to have sewage service, he said a lot of those folks are in evacuation zone A. But look, a lot of people did not take leave. We are on the opposite side. Ray, obviously, evacuation zone A is also the out towards the beach. That is obvious, right? With the storm surge coming from the Gulf waters. I live close towards Tampa Bay, the water near the Gandy Bridge. This is also evacuation zone A, and this is the region that is going to not have any sewage system for the next couple of days. And I think the reporter there, I think that's Colleen Wright from the Tampa Bay Times, who
sounds like it,
asking questions, and he was seeming like he was getting defensive there. People were unhappy about this, Ray, because again, maybe a little bit more advance notice that this could happen, because when they announced it at 5:30, it was like, oh yeah, this is if we get over 7 feet of water, we're going to shut it down. And they did shut it down. And it's going to be a major problem for folks. And I think that the mayor, why didn't they just tell us people yesterday 2 days ago, where they were saying, don't use your washer machine, or use your washing machine, use your laundry, use all those services now because you may not. But they didn't say why you shouldn't, if a storm happens. So anyway, that's definitely a problem here. You mentioned here, I should say, power-wise, Pinellas County has the worst of any area here without power. I believe over 230,000 people right now still do not have power in Pinellas County. Duke Energy said it's 40% of their customer base. It's not so bad the rest of the area. I was checking a website that lists this. 46,700 in Hillsborough do not have power, roughly 40,000 in Manatee, and 40,000 in Sarasota, also without electricity services right now.
And if you're just joining us, it's 11:13 here on the Skinny Friday morning, WMNF Tampa. We're foregoing our regular programming to talk about the storm, keep everybody updated. We'd love to hear from you if you're out there, and you can safely call in 813-239-9663. Tell us how you did, what neighborhood you're in, maybe what your neighborhood needs. Later on, we'll be joined by Des from the local mutual aid disaster relief organization. Councilwoman Lynn Hurtak is due here to be in studio, update us about what's going on at the city.
Sewer issues, St. Pete, Pinellas County, not alone in that respect. Flooding in the Apollo Beach and Ruskin areas in Hillsborough County has caused damage to the wastewater pumping systems in the south part of Hillsborough County. Residents who live west of Interstate 75 and south of the Alafaya River, if that's you're being asked by Hillsborough County to minimize wastewater producing activities like bathing, showering, washing your clothes, dishes, flushing the toilet. They're going to start repairs when the floodwaters recede, most likely this afternoon into this evening. But if you're in those communities, Ruskin, that includes Apollo Beach, Sun City Center, what else is down there? Everything in the southern part of Hillsborough County. Gibsontown folks. Yep, Gibsonton. If you can reduce your wastewater producing activities, you're being asked to do that right now. Again, those repairs are scheduled to start this afternoon when things are high and dry. But for the time being, don't take a shower. Don't wash your clothes. Don't wash your dishes. Don't flush the toilet. Just hang put for a little while.
Is this a good time to do all the things that you don't ever do when you're procrastinating?
Take a leak outside.
Bad behavior in that case is encouraged. Should say that Tampa International Airport recently just announced that it is open and operational. So that is good news. They said there was no major. Yeah, Mitch.
Yeah, I just want to say, picking up what Ben just said about Hillsborough County. Where you can still use the sewage system, but you want to not use it if you can. They're saying the same thing throughout the entire county, and Pinellas the same thing. Even where you do have the ability to turn the water on and take a shower, do not do it basically, or really just flush every other time. They're talking about. They say conserving water is going to be key to restoring services here. So it's really maybe for most of our listening audience, the immediate Tampa Bay area. you really want to conserve water and not put pressure on the system wherever you're listening to us if you're in the Tampa Bay region right now.
Yeah, it's one of these things, leading up to the storm, I think we all kind of saw how it would form, and you get to a certain age, you kind of get used to seeing how storms develop in the Caribbean. And I think everybody kind of felt that this one was a little bit different in the sheer size of it because of our experience last time with Ian and Idalia. I think that the Bay Area natives and newbies alike really had a good grasp on storm surge and knew what it meant to be on the tail end of that. But it was still a historic storm surge that we saw in the Bay Area. I think Axios was reporting that the storm surge peaks in East Bay were 7.2 feet. In Old Port, Tampa, it was 6.8 feet, 6.5 feet in Clearwater Beach, and 6.3 feet in St. Petersburg. My mother-in-law lives on Sand Key. She evacuated, and naturally some people stayed, and she passed along some video to me. Their entire parking lot, ocean. Really wild to see all that. And we're actually joined in studio right now by Councilwoman Lynn Hurtak. Could you speak into the mic? I think we might be able to hear you. Lynn, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Awesome. Lynn Hurtak, Councilwoman, District 3 at large. How are you doing? Did your family make it out okay? And how is your neighborhood?
My family's fine. We lost power like most of our neighborhood around 4 p.m. yesterday, but I'm really having a hard time. I just left a friend's house who lives along the river that had, some of our closest friends, they had water come in through their windows. It's incredibly bad. We just dropped off some folding tables so they can start pulling stuff out and having it dry. But on the way, we also passed a house that caught on fire that is smoking again. It's bad out there. And that's just Seminole Heights. I've heard the stories. I've seen the photos from Davis Islands, from others along the coast, just in the city of Tampa. It's really, really bad. And what I would recommend anyone who possibly can do is to reach out to their neighbors or their friends who live along the river, that live in the evacuation A and zone, and see what they can do to help. It can be as simple as a place to take a shower and charge a phone. It can be things like bringing lunches, tables. At this point, we're a community. We're at the mercy of a community, and I'm just, like I said, I'm devastated. I'm so upset for the folks who've lost so much.
Yeah, there has been a lot of water rising over there, and to hear that level, I think that's kind of what we anticipated, and now we're hearing it from you. As you mentioned, when this kind of stuff happens, everybody at the city kind of drops everything and turns on a different mode. And I know that the city has been heavily preparing for this ever since we even got a sniff that this thing would be passing through. The mayor's obviously was up in the air today with John Bennett called into Down and Dirty here before. How's the communication been with the city, and what kind of advice are you getting from City Hall as far as what to tell your constituents as they start to reach out to you here?
We get the reports, the SITREP reports from the Office of Emergency Management. So we're on that way. Chief Bennett keeps in contact with me via text. I got a text as early as 5:45 this morning talking about going in and doing the high water rescues down in Davis Islands and the folks they've rescued and where they're going. And they're very responsive if I have questions. But mainly, I try to stay out of the way. Mm-hmm. I feel like, if they need me, I offer to help. But other than that, I just can push out what the city is providing. But really, at this point, that's why I say the city, we can. They're working on the true emergency cases right now, like the houses that are catching on fire, like the folks who need high water rescue right now, who need to get out of where they are. That's why I'm recommending, going to your neighbors or reaching out to your neighbors. Don't wait to be asked. Don't wait. Reach out. We texted our friends this morning to see how they were, and they were like, not good. And they wouldn't have reached out otherwise. And so within an hour, we were able to get them some beginnings of some help. And that is what everyone should be doing right now. Everyone, doesn't matter where you're living, please reach out to someone who is in the path and could use some support. If just a place to to lay their heads tonight?
I was out late last night checking on some things. Floodwater was, by my estimation, I haven't seen official reports on this, but at least 6 or 7 feet above normal high tide in Seminole Heights. And I'm talking about the area of Seminole Heights north of Sly Avenue along the Hillsborough River. The water had come up far higher than the Lowry Park boat ramp. If you're looking for touchstones, if you know this area, the water had come all the way up to sort of where the grass starts to the west of the Lowry Park boat ramp. On the other side of the river, on the east side of the river, water was well into the homes, 3 or 4 homes to the east of the river where the water normally stays. That area in particular was heavily flooded, and this was about midnight, 12:30 last night. I didn't see anybody out along that area. There were, however, a little earlier, people all along Bayshore. Lots of folks sort of having fun out there, right? Skimboards in hand. I saw a bunch of kids swimming in the water. But at the same time, cars were stalling out left and right. It's a reminder, folks, don't be a looky-loo. Not at this point. There are emergency personnel out there. The roads, of course, are drier today. People commuting here and there, but just avoid, if you can, that urge inside of you to go see what's going on. You're going to complicate matters. They don't need people out there getting stuck in the high water and so forth. That's already happened. There are cars stalled out on the roadways, certainly along any coastal area in the Tampa area.
And as the councilwoman had alluded to, trying to help people. I do believe we have Des Lynn on the phone here from the Mutual Aid Society here. Ben, is that Des on the line?
Let's see.
There for us here. Let's see. If
Caller, thanks
Des.
so much for holding. Are you with us?
Des, is that you?
Yeah, this is Desiree. Hey.
Hey, Desiree. You're here live on the air here at WMNF. Des is running a mutual aid disaster relief organization based on West Waters here in Tampa. They've put out messaging. They're requesting that anyone in Tampa or the surrounding areas who has extra supplies that they got for the hurricane and didn't end up needing, please consider donating those supplies to their neighbors in need. It's 609 West Waters Avenue. 9 a.m. is when they open. They're going to go until 7 p.m. tonight. You can drop those off. There's a crew there, a self-sustaining crew who will bring them to the hardest hit areas. Des, can you talk a little bit about what you're seeing and what you're hearing? Sadly, this isn't the first time for your organization to be doing this.
Yeah, as climate catastrophe increases, like the intensity and frequency of storms will also increase. So right now I'm just kind of, I heard a prior guest of yours just mention, like, check on your neighbors, see how they're doing. So that's what I'm doing, but we're doing it in more concentric circles, going through St. Pete, going through Perry and Big Bend area. So I'm picking up supplies from different areas of autonomous groups like Streets of Paradise and moving those supplies to hardest hit areas. From what I hear on the ground in Perry, a big issue is tree and debris cleanup. There are trees that are laying on people's homes and causing really dangerous situations over roadways. So I do have contact information for folks that are organizing on the ground in those spaces that are welcoming people to get in contact with them so that we can all find each other and we can, get a synergy going where we're not waiting for the state agencies to respond and we're all able to kind of sustain our own communities and be mutual aid for other communities in need.
Can you talk about what kind of supplies that you are talking about that can do the most good in the context of mutual aid and what you guys are doing?
Well, we don't have like a cookie cutter response. In this response, what we've heard from folks in Perry where the storm made landfall, the requested items involved contractor bags, lots of tarps, mold remediation. We have stuff for disinfectant because it will be with the amount of water that came through, mold and subsequent respiratory issues will be a concern. We have first aid and hygiene kits, trying to keep people clean and as healthy as possible through the storm. So we have first aid supplies, we have vitamin C, PPE, just different things while people are in a vulnerable spot to help kind of with harm reduction and keep them as safe and healthy through the storm as possible.
And if you're just joining us, that's the voice of Desiree Lynn from Mutual mutualaiddisasterrelief.org. That organization locally is collecting supplies at 609 West Waters Avenue. That's also Waters Avenue Church. I'm trying to think of the closest intersection. It's near the Sulphur Springs Water Tower. I think Otis maybe is the closest one.
Waters
Otis?
in Florida. Waters in Florida, yeah. And the donation drive will be tomorrow, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. And we can keep it going depending on the amount of supplies that are coming in. But it's also something we erected during Ian, and we got a really good response from the community, so we're hoping for that again.
Yeah, that's correct. During Hurricane Ian, you guys really were shuttling supplies pretty quickly from here down south, and now you're doing that here, going up to Perry into the Big Bend area. How do people get in touch with your organization, whether they have more questions about what they can drop off or how they can be beneficiaries of what you guys are giving out?
Yeah, for sure. Folks can go to any of our socials, Mutual Aid Disaster Relief on Facebook, on Instagram, on X. They can check us out at mutualaiddisasterrelief.org, and they can email mutualaiddisasterrelief@gmail.com. And there's all kinds of remote support that we've gotten from comrades all over the country that are kind of monitoring those communications and responding. If folks do need supplies, please come to Waters Avenue Church, 609 West Waters Ave. We have a mutual aid center there, and we're happy to help out, to respond, to give and share what we have, and to, boost needs requests through the community if anyone has, like, a mobilization or a need that they need support with. So that would be a really good space for people to come together and, give and take.
We're just reporting things as they come in, but St. Pete Clearwater International Airport was scheduled to reopen at 10:30 a.m. That was about an hour ago. We take it that is happening. If you have flights leaving from St. Pete Clearwater International Airport today, they're advising you check in with your airlines to see if there's been any changes, but the airport is reopened.
And I think, Councilwoman, you
Yeah, I just got a report that I did want to share if folks didn't already know. There are 2 wastewater pumping stations down in South Tampa, the Krause pumping station at 163 South Ashley and the Bayshore pumping station at the corner of South Bayshore and West Knights Ave. They're both down and experiencing overflows. So what they're asking of everyone is to simply limit the water usage when possible. So you can, use the restroom and things, but try not to do a bunch of loads of laundry today, if possible, to minimize.
Make sure your sprinklers are off.
Yes, make sure your sprinklers are off. Pretty much everything. It's only 2 stations, but everything that the rest of us can do to help minimize water usage now would be greatly beneficial while they get those up. But unfortunately, they're experiencing overflows.
That's probably a good idea for everybody in our listening area. If you're tuned into this on
you don't
radio,
have to use the water.
If you don't have to use water today, just avoid it. Don't hold off on doing your laundry. I'm reporting. I'm getting news now that FDOT has reopened the southbound Howard Franklin Bridge. That doesn't mean you got to rush out there and go drive on it yourself, but southbound Howard Franklin Bridge, I-275 from Hillsborough County to Pinellas County is now open. Still closed is the northbound Howard Franklin Bridge from Pinellas County to Manatee County. That's going to remain closed until debris clearing and damage assessment is complete.
And Desiree from mutualaiddisasterrelief.org. Is there anything, I know that you have to get back on the road, is there anything else that you wanted to kind of get across to our listeners here? These next few days after the storm, a lot of times the rest of everybody who has things working seem to get back into their normal lives. But what do we need to understand about what you're doing and what we can do to continue to help people?
Yeah, well, as disaster becomes our normal reality, finding each other, acting quickly, trying to remove the bottlenecks that the state traditionally puts up, and remove bureaucracy, and just check on your neighbors, check on your community, locate vulnerable spaces, and recognize that this isn't just a hurricane response. This is a regular daily reality for people that are experiencing poverty. A disaster can end up changing their entire living situation. It could put them out on the street. People that can't be, that can't relocate, that can't evacuate with evacuation orders and are left to shelter in place in dangerous areas. This is a disaster of capitalism that happens on the daily. So we have to be involved and invested every day I just want to mention, if anybody would like to help out, there is a call out in Sarasota. They're opening a provisional shelter for 200 folks that are displaced. They need sleeping bags. There's families that are sleeping on the floor in a gymnasium, and I have a phone number that I have consent to share on the radio if that's okay.
Sure. So go ahead with that. So this will be a phone number to help out in Sarasota. They're looking for sleeping bags for families sleeping on a floor. This phone number, Desiree?
Yeah, it's 941-704-3511. The contact name is Greg, and you can also contact Greg for another shelter in Colonial Heights that needs like towels and things like that for folks to shower.
Could you repeat that number one more time for us?
Absolutely. It's 941-704-3511.
3511.
Okay. Tallahassee is in great need of debris cleanup, so if anybody is able and has capacity to help there, I have a name and a phone number also I've been given consent to share.
Okay.
We'll take that.
Yeah, go ahead with that if you'd like to.
Absolutely. Thank you. Madeline is the name. The number is 407-694-7448. They're a community organizer. They're trying to coordinate debris cleanup and help folks that have trees and limbs that have crashed through their homes to try to get them a little more structurally sound.
Okay, and that's Madeline.
News from Tico.
Thank you so much, Desiree. Please drive safe today, and thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
Absolutely,
News from Tico. If you're a Tico customer, outages peaked around 1 a.m. at 100,000 customers without power and has come down since then to about 53,000 customers in the Tico area without power. And that was as of 10:40 a.m., so coming up on about an hour ago. Again, outages peaked around 1 a.m. They're working right now, because I saw them out there. They're working right now to get power back online for the remaining 53,000 Tico customers who are in the dark.
I just looked at the map. It's about the same right now, but They really are. They've done a tremendous job cutting it by half.
That quickly.
Since about 12:30 this morning, because when we went to bed, it was a little over 100,000. So.
If you're just joining us, the voice you just heard was Tampa City Councilwoman Lynn Hurtak, District 3, joining us here. In between running around, checking on her neighbors. You live in the old Seminole Heights, technically, and the councilwoman has described really catastrophic damage along the Hillsborough River, and we are taking your calls, 813-239-9663.
Let us know what's going on out there. News as of 11:30 a.m., 4 minutes ago, all Pinellas County barrier islands from the Dunedin Causeway through Tierra Verde, that's a long distance, Dunedin to the southern tip of Pinellas County, continue to be closed to all citizens, including residents who live on those barrier islands. You cannot get in until further notice. Crews are continuing to assess the area, clean up debris, and determine when those barrier islands will be safe to reopen. So all those bridges are closed. We're talking about the Treasure Island Causeway. We're talking about
Bel Air Causeway.
Everything between Dunedin. I mean, that's essentially all of Pinellas County, right?
Essentially, yes.
Yeah. So, and by the way, if you're, we've not heard a lot from people who live north. If you're in Pasco, Hernando, Citrus County, especially if you have a home or property west of US 19, which I've heard was completely inundated by the storm surge. If you have property up there, if you've seen what's going on in that area, please give us a call, 813-239-9663. And if you're calling in, by the way, just know that we are a skeleton crew today, so there's nobody answering your call. I will.
Ben is taking the calls today. Normally we have Irene in the other room, and we're thinking about them and our normal board operator, Skip Sassy. I believe he's in Town and Country, very prone to flooding, and I think the councilwoman has another update that just came in.
No, I was just going to say, though, that we were talking about the northwest part of Seminole Heights. I looked this morning at the flood maps for the city of Tampa, and you can go online and see what roads are still flooded. That area still shows a lot of flooding.
How do people access those flood maps?
So it's a long URL. It's like they use the maps. We do have a link to it up on Creative Loafing. So cltampa.com. There's a post about the National Guard being called in to assist with water rescues on Davis Islands, and we've direct link to the flood maps there. If you have to drive, the preference from city officials is do not drive. If you can stay home, stay out of the way. As Desiree had mentioned, just general debris cleanup, I think, is a huge thing right now, and they're asking to just have the roads cleared and all that stuff. So definitely keep the roads clear for right now. Don't be out there if you don't have to be.
Do not drive into standing water, people. It might look safe. It might look. You might think your car is, is okay to make it through. I saw an expedition stalled out in the middle of the road just the other day, and people stranded because of this. So stay away from those puddles of water.
Not to mention
Do not
the
walk
wastewater.
into them. If a power line drops down into the water, it is not safe. You will die if you're electrocuted by a power line dangling down into standing water. Just be smart. Avoid those things, please.
And you could have been okay before the storm, but now, just like you said, it is mixed with wastewater. We have 2 pumping stations down. You cannot be sure what is in that water now. It is not safe to be in any type of water. In fact, I would stay off the river today. Just simply stay out of water. Stay as localized as you possibly can. Help the neighbors who are nearby. See if friends along the coast need help, but really just do what you can to help those nearby. I know a lot of folks heard a lot of chainsaws out already. I've seen some limbs down. After I'm done here, we're going to be moving some limbs out of a neighbor's yard, and then going to help our friends who's had a good 3.5 feet of water in their house. We're emptying every drawer in their kitchen. Everything, all the drawers in their kitchen have water in them. All the bowls have water from the river. It is. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, it was this morning. I live in Tampa Heights, and over by Armature Works, the dock that's over there was almost over the pylons. It's a floating dock, and it's in the air right now. All the oysters are there. This happened overnight, so we don't have a lot of pictures, but to imagine the level of and the amount of water that came rushing in, I think catastrophic is really the only word that you can really kind of go with. And we have another call coming in here that Ben's going to bring in here. Caller, you're on the air here live on WMNF Tampa.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, this is Adriana. I was calling because I heard that there was a call for the need for therapists or any type of anyone that can offer or recommendations to offer any type of healing during this time. So I wanted to call in and give a recommendation.
Sure. And you're alluding to some comments made on the show before us, and something we talk about. Sometimes when something like this happens, we just need a place to talk it out and be heard and give voice to kind of what's inside of us. What are some of your recommendations?
Well, there is a temple in St. Petersburg that is a beautiful space that anyone can come, and it's called Temple de la Luna, and the telephone number is 727-282-8935, and it's a place where anyone can come for any type of trauma that they're experiencing, any type of shock. They can give them a call. It's a beautiful sanctuary as well that can be, you can come and just sit and have prayers or have someone do prayers for you. And I just wanted to give that information. You can also visit at 1753 Prescott Street South in St. Petersburg, Florida. The doors are open. There's over 20 years of experience with the priestess that is there, and sometimes people gravitate more to spiritual help than an actual physical therapist or actual therapy from a therapist. So that's a place in our community that's open to help people. And for someone who just may need an extra ear or some sort of be able to come there and talk about what's going on and to de-stress.
And what part of the area are you in, you physically? And what have you seen and experienced here overnight here as the storm passed through?
As a sort of massive flooding. We're closer to Gulfport. There's massive flooding and being up all night, not knowing whether or not you're going to have to deal with water coming in. There's sewage problems here. it's really stressful. So just not being able to sleep, hearing things crash around the home, around the house, that type of thing.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of video out of Gulfport. Just heartbreaking video. A lot of people left Gulfport because they knew that the storm surge would be pretty bad. But nowadays, with everybody who has cameras on the front of their house and oftentimes on the inside of their house, kind of looking at the front door, we've seen a lot of video of water just starting at first to kind of trickle in and then rush in. I know that in Gulfport, they're advising if you don't own a business down there in downtown Gulfport or don't live there, please,
Move, leave.
Yeah, because there's a lot of cleanup that has to happen there. Mitch, can we come back to you and kind of see if there's any new updates out of St. Pete?
Actually, I have something pressing just before we go to Mitch right quick. Open currently the northbound Skyway Bridge. That's I-275 from Manatee County to Pinellas County is now open. The northbound Skyway Bridge is now open. Closed is the southbound Skyway Bridge. So if you're going from St. Pete or Pinellas County to Manatee County, you will not get there via the Skyway. That bridge will remain closed until debris clearing is done and damage assessment is complete. You with us, Mitch?
Yeah, what I want to say, guys, is that one of the things I've certainly seen on social media in terms of like damage in the local area is at St. Pete Beach, and apparently Governor Ron DeSantis is going to be his next press availability is going to be at 1:30 from St. Pete Beach. Also, Councilwoman Hurtak mentioned a couple pump stations are down in Tampa. Well, in Pinellas County, there are 132 pump stations that are not operational right now, which again is a reason why they're really emphasizing for folks to take it easy in terms of using any type of water, conserving water. Don't put pressure on the system right now. Maybe every other time flush when you're using it. So it's really just a big problem at this point right now. And conserving water, they say, is going to be key to restoring services.
Yeah,
I believe the rule is
if it's yellow,
keep it mellow.
Let it mellow.
And
if it's brown, flush it down. That cannot be emphasized more than ever. And those are the little things that we don't think about, I guess. And a lot of times in non-disaster times when we're talking about water and our taxes and what our money does, this is what these are things that we take for granted every day. Being able to flush a toilet.
Meanwhile, if you are thinking about going for a swim because it looks fun, or just remember that some of that wastewater winds up in situations like this when things get flooded, especially in Pinellas County. We've heard about this for 5 years now. Some of that wastewater winds up in the bay, in our estuaries, in our coastal areas. So that just another reason to stay out of the water today. You don't want to be swimming with the poo.
Absolutely. And then if you get sick from that, you're just another person in the hospital that doesn't need to be there right now. They're dealing with folks.
Correct. And as we move to bring this next caller on, Tampa General Hospital is open and accepting patients, although Davis Islands itself is inaccessible. I repeat that. You cannot access Davis Islands. The hospital is open for emergencies only. So only emergency travel will be into that hospital. Let's bring a call in and we can talk a little bit more.
You're live on WMNF, caller. What do you got for us?
Hi, this is Chris Steiner, Clearwater. I just, since you're mentioning water, I thought I'd mention that you can renew your filter life if you have a water ionizer and you soak the filters in the alkaline water, because the water ionizer split the water between acid and alkaline. You use the alkaline water. The higher the pH, the better, the faster it'll actually draw out from within the filters, the filter material, the contaminants. A lot of people with water ionizers may not know that, but they certainly should probably already aware of that. You can soak your food in freshly ionized alkaline water in order to draw out the contaminants from the food and make it last longer, even taste better. And sometimes the produce starts growing again, even inside your fridge, so they may be aware of that. But that was a little tip with water filters that I found out myself by testing them with a total dissolved solids meter to see before and after that you can renew your filters almost indefinitely.
That's great information, Chris. We appreciate it. What are things like in Clearwater right now? Have you been back? Have you been out and about?
I never left. Things are fine. The power only flickered a little bit last night. I'm just about a half mile east of downtown Clearwater, near Cleveland Street, Missouri Avenue.
Yeah.
And some people are using generators. I hear a few generators and see them around here, but it doesn't look like it's too bad. I haven't ventured too far, though.
We sure appreciate the information, Chris. Thank you so much for calling. And if you're out there listening to this program and you have information like that to share that'll help your neighbors out, here's a good way to broadcast. Give us a call, 813-239-9663.
And just so you know, if you want to access those flood maps and the road closed maps, honestly, the best way to do it is to get the City of Tampa app on your phone, because that'll be in the menu. And that is how I ultimately found it, because as Ray said, it's a very long URL. So the best way to do it is simply to go to the City of Tampa app, download it. It's free, and you can sign up for all sorts of alerts there. But that is basically what was closed earlier is still closed. Pretty much anything along the river, anything along the bay is still
we're
that's
seeing
where the water
a lot
damage is.
I have the map pulled up here, and so it shows confirmed street flooding and reported street flooding. Right now, it's a lot of confirmed, as the councilwoman said. Lots of spots along the Hillsborough River near Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, it looks like, Elizabeth, a little bit south of that, and of course right there on Columbus near Armature Works. And then as you move closer to downtown, lots of confirmed flooding there. And
Palmetto Beach.
Palmetto Beach, what I was going to say, is something that we haven't talked a lot about, but I'm getting some calls from folks over there.
Yep.
It's been pretty bad in Palmetto Beach. I'm getting goosebumps there.
And that's just south of Ybor City, right? If you follow 21st Street onto 41, I guess, then Apollo Beach is down there, DeSoto Park, DeSoto Elementary School, things like that.
Yep, 22nd Street over there. The port of one of Tampa's oldest and still very working class neighborhoods. A lot of people who are used to getting up at 3 and 4 a.m. To start their workday. And these are the people who quite often are doing the jobs that, a lot of people don't want to do. And they certainly have a lot to deal with today. A lot of the flooding is there's a huge the blue dots are the confirmed, and it's right there on Palmetto Beach right now.
Just reporting again, the northbound Skyway Bridge, I-275 from Manatee County to Pinellas County has been reopened. It's now open northbound. But the southbound Skyway Bridge from Pinellas to Manatee, if you're trying to go that way, you will find it closed for the time being. Crews are cleaning up debris and assessing the damage before they reopen the southbound lanes of the Skyway Bridge.
And if you're just joining us right now here on WMNF Tampa, it's 11:48 in the morning here, Friday, September 27th, the morning after Hurricane Helene. It made landfall right around Perry, which is quite north of us. However, the effects have been felt in a very dramatic and catastrophic way here. Ben Montgomery is in studio with us. However, Mitch Perry, our other co-host, essentially forced to do this from his home in the Old Northeast in St. Petersburg, because you're not supposed to be out on the road right now. Councilwoman Lynn Hurtak with us in studio in between running around checking on her constituents. If you have anything to say, 813-239-9663. You can also text us if that's your style, 813-433-0885. The station, I think we lost power a little bit overnight, but as it always does, it stays on the air, and we have continued to stay on the air. I see Samantha in Studio 1. I don't know if Joellen will be here to do Art and Ear, but we continue to bring you news and anything breaking, and be a place where you can call in and just be heard a little bit.
And I just want to acknowledge the goofy nature of this storm. School was closed on Wednesday in Hillsborough County. The warnings started come hot and heavy, and then it was sunny all day long on Thursday, right? I went for a run.
Every year.
It is every year, right? But it has a tendency to, I think, kind of lull us to sleep. Mm-hmm. Everyone was like, oh, this was a nothing burger. This, the storm that never came. And then the water started to rise. Around dark yesterday, the water started to come up. And at that point, all bets are off. You can hear warning after warning after warning, and I think a lot of people just get in in the rhythm of thinking like, oh, this is going to be not an event. There's nothing to worry about, but the water always follows.
Yeah, our photographer, Dave Decker, he's out in the Claremelle area, and his family has a small compound out there, so his mom is out with them, and there's several properties on there, and he told me that, I mean, this is a Tampa lifer. They were putting bricks down on the road just to kind of mark to see how fast the water was coming, and bricks were being covered within the hour. And he, for the first time in his life, described really feeling like they were about to lose everything. And, allude to what Ben was talking about. You just don't know until you know. And for these people, I really feel for them in the coastal areas to just watch the water come in and do this, especially after summer that's had so much flooding. And, we talk a lot about, where do we put water runoff and things like that. But it has not been an easy summer by any means for anybody in the Bay Area. And this is just not the way that, you wanted this to go. And something about these eye storms, Mitch.
Yeah. Just want to add, this storm, Hurricane Helene is really about storm surge, right? Because I don't know what the totals about rain are, but down here in St. Petersburg, it didn't really rain that much last night, overnight. We had a lot of wind, and as early or late as 1 a.m. this morning, I let my cat Max out, right? Like, he likes to get out and go, and it was like, okay, it looks like the worst of the storm is over, go on out there. And then 2:30, when it started raining again, I opened the door, and there was water, about 8 inches of water on my driveway. And luckily, it didn't leak into the door. This has never happened in the 5 years I lived here. I was, frankly, a little terrified for my cat because it was going to leap over him. He somehow made it back at 6 a.m. this morning. But so really overnight, the water really crested in so many places here from after the eye went past us last night. And you're almost like, I was, mesmerized by television. When's the tide going out, right? I mean, it's like, when's it going to, and I know back this morning at 10:30, the tide was, high tide was at 10:30 this morning in St. Petersburg. So it's this incredible amount of the storm surge, which, is the biggest thing about, in terms of like what I think infrastructure wise, our governments are going to have to be doing in the future on these things. Is because this is not, obviously this is probably the worst one. We're seeing, again, some of the worst reported damage. Certainly here in Pinellas County, St. Petersburg, you're hearing that anecdotally. And I guess in a lot of places in Tampa as well. But again, as you just mentioned, we just had a Debbie, right, about a month ago or so. We also just had really heavy rainstorms in the first week of September that, again, where I live here, right off of 4th Street in North St. Petersburg, was the heaviest flooding I've ever seen living here. Just normal storms, nothing like a hurricane.
We got a call coming in.
We have a call coming in here.
Caller, you're with us live
on the air.
Live on the air. WMNF. What do you got?
Oh Lord, I want to remain anonymous, but
okay.
This is I was in Tampa from '67 to 2020, and now I'm up here in Philadelphia, and y'all are survivors. I mean. But what I was trying to, I know it's not maybe not a good thing to say, but right now, but it was this past summer, we were in the hundreds. Y'all were in the hundreds up there. Feel like temperature was in the hundreds. And I know it's in a positive way, Mother Nature's trying to cool y'all off. She's getting rid of all that heat. I don't know.
Yep.
But y'all hang in there.
Thank you so much for the call. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, I want to, when we're talking about, trying to harden things and prepare, I mean, that is exactly what the citizens of Tampa have chosen to do by taxing themselves to work on the stormwater. I mean, part of the press release about that station that closed down on Bayshore, that's next up for a $17 million retrofit. So, I mean, unfortunately, we can't do it fast enough, and we can't do anything about storm surge, but we are trying to harden the best we can. It's not going to be easy. It's not, I mean, there's no silver bullet, and that's the unfortunate thing. And I think if I want people to take something away from this, it is we we learned how to prepare from a hurricane. I mean, I'm a native Floridian. I think both of you are as well. We knew what to do for a hurricane. You had your go kit, but we didn't talk about storm surge. We were never raised on storm surge, and that we have really got to just reorient ourselves when it comes to storms now. And what are we going to do? We really have to emphasize the run from the water. It's just
hide from the wind, run away from the water.
But what we all did, I mean, I know growing up, and I'm sure you all, we just hid from it all. We hunkered down. It was a fine place. We stayed at home.
Yeah.
But now we are really going to have to.
Well, things are different. Desiree from Mutual alluded to it. The situation and the temperatures in the Gulf, and we don't want to get too deep in the weeds on that, but the storms are changing. The nature of weather is changing. And as we continue to develop, what does development look like? And, you mentioned taxing yourselves and having to do the work. I don't think the mayor gets enough credit for how big of the pipes project this thing is. A lot of times when we're driving around, we're like, oh, another road is closed. You just have to tell yourself you're stealing up your community for whatever's next, know?
And there's only so much you can do.
And the pipes project is only water and sewer.
Right.
When you're talking about the stormwater, that's where that tax is on your property tax bill. That's a whole different ballgame. And so the fact that we're doing all of it at once is no one else in the state is doing this.
Right.
And
because it's hard.
Oh, yeah, it's hard. It forces us to look at something we don't want to consider.
But I think we consider it now. I was thinking about that last night as I was falling asleep next to my kid. In the past, when the sun would go down and night would fall, you would hear the wind. And I think this storm was a little bit different. You did hear the wind. You heard the leaves on there. But when you woke up and you saw, and then you see the video of the water coming into people's homes, it's such a different storm experience from some of the windy ones. And sadly, as you talked about, Councilwoman, it seems like, and as Mitch alluded to, storm surge is going to be something that really becomes part of our everyday vernacular and vocabulary. And it's going to be something that we think about for a long time. My heart hurts for everybody out there in Crystal River.
Cedar Key.
Yeah, who have been through this already. Yeah. I've been with friends who've ripped out drywall and gotten rid of everything. And for them to have to leave their house again, knowing that what they're going to get into when they come home to, I mean, I don't know the answers right here on the air, but that's just something that we have to think about, moving forward.
It has been something that we've, it's been an idea to consider. And, in the next couple of months, we're really going to have to grapple with what is next. What do we do as a community?
Yeah.
And entertain this question that is uncomfortable, which is, are we supposed to live close to the water? I mean, everybody wants a waterfront house, right? But this is the cost. This happens. And anecdotally, a friend of mine, his folks bought a piece of property on Hales River Road in Homosassa. It's beautiful, nice house, right on a canal. You can be by boat to Homosassa Springs in just a few minutes. That house is underwater today. They have, since they bought it a year ago, they've installed door barriers. They have invested many dollars, hard-earned dollars, on trying to protect this home from floodwater, and it's been flooded 3 times. This is the cost of living in the state of Florida, I take it. It's
a lot to deal with, and we hope that everybody out there is doing the best they can. Councilwoman Lynn Hertz, thank you for joining us. Thank you for reminding us.
Yeah, and all I want to say is just the way I started. Reach out to your neighbor. Help your neighbor. Be that person. Tampaños, we connect with one another. So reach out to your neighbor. Offer the help you can.
Thank you for listening to WNF Tampa this morning. We're running out of time here pretty quickly. Mitch, please stay safe over there. Don't let Max out in the rain again. Ben Montgomery on behalf of Ben. I think we have Samantha in Studio 1 to take over for Joe Ellen here. My name is Ray Roa. This has been The Skinny here on WMNF Tampa. Thank you so much for listening. Please stay safe, and we'll see you on the other side of NPR News here in about 30 seconds.
you.